to do my Wimbledon reviews. But I thought, you know what, I might as well, because usually I'll just, as you know, I've been selecting one match. I've been watching tennis for like the whole day, selecting my favourite match, and then I've just been reviewing that. So if you want to check out those reviews from last week, then you can just find them on here. But today I thought, you know, I've been watching tennis on and off since 12:30. It's like 7:30 now, so that's like 7 hours. And you don't realise how the time goes. I was thinking today, I don't know if I'd even want to go to like Wimbledon and like sit on centre court for the whole day, because you're having to sit there. I mean, you'd enjoy it. It's the same as any sporting tournament. To be fair, I watch sports on TV, but I don't know if I'd want to like sit for like 6-7 hours. You would, because you'd be excited about it. But at least at home you can stop, you can stretch, you can, go and get a drink, you can do what you want. But when you're there, you just have to get into it. So yeah, it's been interesting. That's why I've gone live, because I'm going to talk about like lots of the games that I've watched today. Thanks for joining. Whoever joins, like, leave your comments as well. And if you don't want to know what's happening, because you might want to watch today at Wimbledon on the BBC, then don't watch this, because I'm going to be telling you the results. So I'm giving everyone that like chance. If you don't want to know who's won or who's played what, wait, switch off, and then go and watch Wimbledon today. So the first match I started watching, this was probably about like 12:30 today, was Marian Cilic, not Marianne, actually that's me, isn't it? Marian Cilic versus Flavio Caballé. So because I've never heard of this Flavio Caballé, I thought, okay, I'll just tune in. This might be like, okay, it might be interesting. But then it got really interesting. It was I found it entertaining. It went on in the end for 3 hours and 25 minutes. I watched half of it, then I switched over, I think, to watch another game, then I came back to it. And it could have gone either way, but what I think was really good is it was entertaining to watch. There's a lot of players that are coming, into the tournament this year that I've either not heard of or I've just not paid attention to. So this guy, Flavio Caballé, young guy, it was just like, what's the word called? You know, like when a duck is just attacking, and whatever you throw at them, they just keep coming back and back. It was impressive. It was fast paced. And yeah, so he won in the end. And Marian Cilic, hi, you're Jackson. Hi, Jackson. So yeah, I just found it entertaining. So I was watching it. Hi, whoever joins, just you can leave your comments. You can chat amongst yourselves as well. So yeah, that was the first game I watched. So second game that I tuned into was Alex de Minaur versus Djokovic. Now, that usually would have been my match of the day, because normally anytime Djokovic is playing, like, I was really into it. I sort of put my work down and I was like, right, I'm getting ready for this. But then, for the first time, I started feeling nervous that he's not going to win. And as I've said on my other videos, if you've watched, hi everyone that's joining, anytime I've been watching Djokovic play normally tennis, I can go off, have something to eat, come back, and I feel really confident that he's going to win, because I've never you don't doubt him. But today, he just wasn't himself. He just wasn't playing his best, and he lost the first set to Alex de Minaur, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And it was just, something came over me. I was just thinking, oh no, I think he's going to lose, and that was bad. And then in my mind, I was saying, you know what? Don't turn over, because if you're a fan of someone, you shouldn't just support them when they're winning. You should be there when they're losing as well. I tried saying that, but then I couldn't, because I thought that the thought of him losing the way that he was playing as well, because he was not playing well, I just thought he can't go out at this stage. So I turned over, I bottled out, and I couldn't watch the rest of it. But then I heard the results that he won. But yeah, it was just, for the first time in this tournament, I'd say that he wasn't playing his best, but also he was showing quite a lot of weaknesses. I mean, he was doing double faults. This is Djokovic, whoever's joining, Purple Penguin. Hi, Sip Sippy. So yeah, for him, it was like someone had taken over. The commentators were saying, what's going on here? Like when Alex de Minaur took the first set, and then when like Djokovic was making like silly mistakes, the shots that he would normally be doing across court, which I was showing off about the other day, 2 days ago, I think I was saying that was my favourite, most entertaining match. They were all letting him down. He was just, Alex de Minaur was just, I'm just going to call him Alex, because I can't pronounce his surname. Alex was just hitting the shots back. He just was looking lackluster. He was even like doing a lot of stretches. He was putting his head down a lot. He was just beating up himself a lot. It just wasn't very like him. So that made me think that if he doesn't get it together, to be fair, and play, if he does make it to the final, if he's up against like a really strong Carlos Alcaraz or even Sinner, which I don't find Sinner's game that interesting, but he is number one in the world, or if he's up against like Ben Shelton, who I'll talk about in a minute, he could potentially like lose to one of them, because today he showed like the weakness. And that's the first time since I've been watching Djokovic play that I was like, nah, it wasn't good. Even the commentators, John McEnroe's a big fan of his, but even he had to say, what's going on here, what's happening? He wasn't impressed. But he still won. It's about results, but still you can't really play like this in week 2, because there's no weak links this week. This is where all the big players come into play. So yeah, I'm glad he won, but I was nervous, so I couldn't watch. And I think it's taught me something, that yeah, you can't just give up. You're not supposed to just turn over it's like, I suppose, when people are football fans, you're not going to leave the stadium, are you, when your team is losing? You're going to support them through loses and wins. So to me, like, I have to learn to I used to do it with Serena and Venus as well. If they were playing each other, or if they were losing and Venus was very emotional. She used to cry and everything. The minute she started crying, it just got too much for me. I couldn't watch because I just saw her in distress. And with Serena, like when she was injured as well, that was tough to watch. But, you have to go through it with them. There's no point in just switching over the TV. So that was that game. The third game that I watched was Alexandrova versus Bencic. Bencic, I think it is. I don't know if you pronounce it like that. This is the two female players. And the result was that Bencic won that game. Alexandrova, apparently she's the higher seeded player. I've never heard of either of these, to be fair. And I'm not saying, and I've been watching tennis for probably 20 years or more. I haven't heard of every single tennis player, but apparently, yeah, Alexandrova was the higher seed. She went out. It was a basic game. There was nothing in there that was memorable, but at the same time, I'm going to watch the matches that are on, and I'm going to watch clips of them. I didn't see all of that game in its entirety. So then the next match that I watched today was, this is another one I'm going to struggle to pronounce, Buzas Monero, this female, versus Samsonova. So that was actually interesting. That was I've never heard of these two either, but that was interesting to watch. So I think today, of all the days, I'd say it's been interesting because of the fact that everyone has come out fighting. I suppose it's week 2. You're heading towards quarterfinals, you're heading towards semi-finals, then the final. This is where like a lot of people have stepped up their game. So that game was interesting. They said, this is a stat about Samsonova. Yeah, maybe I have pronounced it right. I don't know. Don't beat me up for my pronunciations. I'm trying, She hasn't dropped a set in the whole of the tournament. So she won 7-5, 7-5. And sometimes when you see the score, you think, oh, that must have been a pretty basic game. Oh, they've just took the set. But you have to watch the game sometimes because it's not always as straightforward as that. And so with the lady, Buzas Monero, she was fighting for it. But when someone knows they've lost and they're just fighting, but they still know that you've made too many mistakes, but also you're too far, the other person is too far ahead. So I found it interesting. But yeah, and what I will say is my top 3, I'm going to talk about my favourite game of the whole tournament so far next. Because my top 3 games that I've watched, tennis matches, have been, well, I've moved them around. So today, Ben Shelton, that is the best tennis match I think I've seen, not just this tournament, but in a while. That was taking me back to, I don't know, some of them brilliant matches. Andre Agassi all over the place and Boris Becker. So that's been my favourite game. I'm going to talk about that. My second favourite match is between either Norrie versus Parry, which I only even watched 2 hours of it. So yesterday, as you know, I didn't do any reviews because I did a game show for my whole family. It was all day. We had a leisure centre. We had lots of games. It was fun. There was too many. I was laughing too hard. and that finished quite late, and I thought I haven't got time to watch tennis and do a review. But then I sat down, and the tennis match Norrie versus Parry was still going on, and went on for 4 hours in total. And for those 2 hours that were left, so you can imagine 4 hours on court, brilliant, like spectacular. He's the only Brit left in the competition, Cam Norrie. I've been supporting him from the beginning. I was a bigger fan of like Jack Draper, but he obviously went out quite early. Yeah, spectacular. Do you know what I mean? I was watching and I was thinking, wow, you know, he was putting everything into it. Lots of people on Facebook are talking about it. You know, you've got to support him because he's the only Brit left, and also he's good. It doesn't matter if he wasn't the only British player; he's still quite good as well. So that's my second favourite, and my first, yeah. So my first favourite match is the Shelton today, Shelton versus Sonego, which I'll talk about in a minute. I don't know if you pronounce his name Sonego because he's Italian. I think it's Sonego. That's how you say it. My second favourite was Norrie versus Parry, and then my third favourite is Djokovic versus Kecmanovic. Now, even though that was really entertaining, that was vintage, as they said, that was vintage Djokovic, because it was like he was back to his best. I think because today he's gone to his worst, not his worst, but from that match where he was just spectacular, he was pumping up the crowd, he was sliding all over the place, his shots were just, everything he touched turns to gold. Then today, for him to be at his not so good, just, I don't know what happened, and I'm kind of like conflicted now because he's still one of my favourite tennis players, but he can't play like that against Carlos Alcaraz because he'll lose again, and he lost to Carlos Alcaraz again, not because he wasn't the best out of the two. He lost because he lost his focus and because he just had a bad day, and you can't do that in tennis. You can't do that in any sport, to be fair, but you can't go up against the best and have a bad day. You can't, because you're going to lose. So then Jannik Sinner is what's the game that's going on now versus Dimitrov. Dimitrov is in the lead currently. Jannik Sinner is obviously the number one tennis player in the world. There's something about being either number one in the world at what you do, because obviously it means you've beaten the best, you know, you've got to the top. And there's also something about being on your best form. So Sinner, they've said, has only dropped and this guy Dimitrov is the only player in the whole of the tournament that has taken a set off Jannik Sinner. So throughout the whole of the tournament, no one has ever beaten him in the sets. So they might have beaten him in a game, but not the sets, and that's why he's won. So today he's behind, but he's probably going to come through because there's something about that winning mentality. There's something about the fact if you're number one in the world, it's like, you know, Usain Bolt or all these other players. You think of any player in any sport, if they're at the top of their game, they just have something more to dig. And you know, when you can see, it's like when Emma Raducanu the other day was playing against Sabalenka. Emma Raducanu was way ahead. I mean, obviously she still did good. I don't really like the fact that she's getting hate. She's always getting hate on. She can breathe and she gets hate on Instagram. I don't know why people just dislike her. Even when you're seeing on MSN News, they're all going, oh, she's, why should she be getting so much money? And oh, she was never going to get anywhere and blah. To me, that's disgraceful because she has gone up against the number one player in the world and she still did a pretty good job. She was in the lead at first, but I knew deep down that, like, you know, when you might be in the lead, she was in the lead, I think, in set one and set two, but you just knew Sabalenka was just ready to pounce. It's just going to happen. So that's what it is about when you're number one, but also when you have that hunger, when you have that aggression. Now, the one thing that British players what the coaches have to put in British sports, and that does it whether it's football, whether it's tennis, whether it's anything, we don't have the same level of aggression or hunger that other nations have. I don't know if it's because maybe the training is too easy. I don't know if it's because we just maybe haven't suffered enough. But you know, when you see Russians and they're just, even in gymnastics, and you see the Russian ballerinas and just how hard they go. It's like with African long distance runners. And everyone, and they're just pushing, they literally would die, they'll die on the field rather than like lose. With the tennis players, again with other nations, like when you see them, but I think with British tennis, considering it's at Wimbledon, there just has to, I don't know what it is about the fact that we can't really get as many players towards the final stages. Andy Murray, he was the best hope and he's gone. Jack Draper still, you know, he's done his stuff, so he's won competitions, but he went out quite early. Cam Norrie, whatever happens, he's got this far, so he'll get like rewarded for that. But it's just every year it's kind of like, it's not disappointed because I don't even, do you know what, I back the players based on the fact that I love Wimbledon, and I back the British players because it's at Wimbledon as well, and they are good. But it would be nice occasionally, do you know what I mean? Like, instead of like just Andy Murray once in a while, to have some British players in the semi-final or at least get to the final, and that's just not happening enough. So back to what I was talking about, because I just needed to say that because I just think it's based in Wimbledon, the amount of money they're putting into it, you know, putting into the roofs, and the amount of if you're talking, you have thousands of people that are turning up, and these tickets are not cheap. These people are queuing for hours to get tickets, and the tickets are like, you know, they're over £100, some of them are a lot more. So the money some of it should be put into helping the coaches, you know, get winners. So then the other match that went on today was Emma Navarro versus Andreeva, Mira Andreeva, that's her son. She's got such a nice personality. She's from, is she Russian? Yeah, she's Russian. So she is someone that I've heard of like over the years, but I've never paid that much attention to her. I know that she's 18, so she's the youngest person to get to this stage in the competition. I think they said in 17 years. So that's already an achievement. She's already broke a record already. I just like her personality. I think the fact in the interview, she's just really humble. She's just really nice. Comes across as really nice. But then when she's on the pitch, she's getting on with her work now. Emma Navarro, as I said, I did make a video about her earlier in the week. Because she's from a rich, I think she's like, her family are billionaires, and she's a billionaire, or that's what they keep referring to her as. They're saying she's got like nothing. She's got more to prove. They're saying I don't know what it is, but I just think she doesn't come across as someone that is playing for the love of tennis. Now, that is really judgmental. People can say I'm being judgmental. She seems like she's got the money, she's got the lifestyle, but people have been telling her whole life, oh, you're rich and you're... Because even in her interview, she didn't really seem that passionate about tennis, and she seemed like she was just like, couldn't be bothered to be there. I don't like her attitude. That's the truth. She's not got a sporting attitude. It's almost like she's there with all of her jewellery on. She's there in the papers and everything they're talking about, like her rich family. And she just comes across as someone that's just leisurely playing the game, but I don't see the passion in the game and stuff. I don't see that she really is like has got the sportsmanship. So she lost anyway, so that's her for another year. They were saying as well that some people were saying they felt it was unfair because the amount of money she's got to put into it. I think that's irrelevant, because if you want to be a champion, then you will take every opportunity to become a champion. If I wanted to, I used to be an athlete when I was at school. You know, they said I was good enough, I could have become a professional athlete, but I didn't want to do the training. I didn't want to get up early and go to Alexander Stadium and train in the mornings and then train on the evenings and then give up my weekends. But I was really good. I was winning all the races. The 200 metres, that was my speciality. If someone said to me that I'm going to take you to America and you can have a scholarship there and you can train with the best of the best, you can have the best coach, you can have the best food, you can have the best everything, and someone was going to pay for that because they had the money to, who's going to say no to that? So when players are saying, well, this person is doing better because they've got more money to put into it. Well, obviously they have, but they're not going to turn that down. You're going to get the best so that you can become the best. So that's the Emma Navarro thing where, she's not that popular, I don't think, amongst her peers. The other game that's going on, but it's on iPlayer, is Iga Swiatek versus Towson. I think Iga's going to win this. I'll put her... It's tough to know now between who's going to do this, because there's so many, they're not even wild cards, but there's so many women players at the minute that are just, it could be anyone's game. I think the women's champion could be anyone, because the champion for this year has been beaten and the champion from last year has been beaten. So it's anyone's, but I'm going to if I have to put my neck out and say, because I want to say Sabalenka, but you know what? I'm not going to say Sabalenka. I'm going to say Iga Swiatek could do it this year. I'll hope she does, because I'm not like a big I don't mind if Sabalenka wins, but it's a bit just obvious. She's number one in the world. I'm not like a massive fan of hers either, not after she like how she was like unsportsmanship towards Coco, but also just she's okay, you know. I've not got a problem with her at all. I don't know her, you know. I'm not someone that's just going to dislike someone when I don't know them. I either take to someone's energy or character, or I have my favourites, but I want Iga to win it because I think she deserves, she's always come close and never, and for whatever reason, and she's probably travelled further this year because Rybakina went out, then Vondrousova went out. All these people that she normally would have been up against, they all went out. So she's got a good chance. So if I was to predict the final, I'd say it's probably going to be between the women's final, between Iga and Sabalenka. So now let me talk about the final match that I'm going to talk about today. I told you that's why I did a live, because it would have been a long video. Ben Shelton. So I've heard about him, and obviously they were hyping up the fact that he's dating Dennis Rodman's daughter. She was in the crowd, and then his sister was in the crowd, and his parents were there, and that was really nice. I like the fact they kept switching to them and stuff, and they kept including them in the whole thing and stuff. But anyway, Ben Shelton was against Lorenzo Sonego. I've never heard of Lorenzo Sonego, but there's a lot of Italians playing in this year. There always is, and do you know what I mean? Most of them are good looking, let's be honest. Berrettini, I know he went out soon, but every time I hear his name, I'm like, yeah, I'll tune into that. He's handsome. A lot of the Italians are handsome, to be fair, and that's in everything. That's in football. I don't know if you're just born handsome mostly if you're Italian, but let's get back to it anyway. So they were playing against each other. So none of them were the favourites, to be fair. Ben Shelton he's quite young. I think they said he's 22. Every time someone's 21 or 22, because they do it with Carlos Alcaraz, every sentence it's, oh, well, he's only 22. Well, Ben Shelton as well, he's 22. So yeah, it's the most entertaining match I've watched so far. I was trying to do my work. I had a report to write, so I'm writing this report. And then I keep hearing the crowd going crazy, so I kept looking up. And then I'm writing again, and then I keep seeing these shots, and I'm thinking, wow, did he just do that? Because he's similar to like Djokovic 10 years ago. He's all over the court. He's got the speed, the pace, he's got the shots. Djokovic has still got the shots, but he hasn't got the pace. He knows that. He's 38 years old. He's never going to be able to compete with when it comes to pace and speed. But the fact is, he's still beat Alex de Minaur, who's younger. It's not always just about age, but realistically, if you're playing a sport like tennis, when you've got to be on court for 3 hours or 4 hours, and you've got to dart from here to there, you've got to go forward, you've got to go back, you've got to watch your pace, you've got to use every aspect of your body, then age does matter. You know, in the end, Serena Williams, it was to do with injuries, but also age, and she had to retire. So with Ben Shelton, he's just like energetic. He was all over the place. Every ball that was coming to him, he was hitting it. And then the only hiccup he had halfway through was that he just was making really bad mistakes. And then he started getting like overly emotional by like arguing with the referee, the umpire, getting down on himself and stuff. So then he got control of his emotions then and just started to say, you know, I'm just going to play. So there was some really, to me, I said after the second, when he sort of like lost his focus, then he went, had a word with himself, then he came back, and then it was just brilliant. I just said he just lit up the court. It was like every shot was like, what? How did you manage to do that? There were some shots where he was off the court, so he was obviously when you go beyond the court, and then he was hitting like just as a random thing, and then it was landing in. Then there was one where his opponent hit, and the opponent came on the other side of the court, the wrong side of the court, and then Ben just like lightly went like this. He tapped to the ball, and it landed, and they were both laughing because they knew that was like the guy was out of couldn't have done anything about that. It was just the fact he kept going, and he still kept doing double faults a little bit, and he still kept, you know, there was a chance that Sonego could have caught up. But it just got to the point where he just thought, no one's winning this except for me. I liked his like power. I liked his tenacity. He went to a tie break in the third set, And then he just said in the interview at the end, he didn't want to go to another tie break. His personality was shining through. I mean, I know that like there were quite a lot of young players now that obviously maybe in 5 years' time or whatever it is, if I'm still watching tennis, they'll come through like, because you've got this thing where, because there's a lot of similar players who play in a similar way. Carlos Alcaraz, you know, he's also 22. He plays in a powerful way. He's all over the court. Then you've got Ben Shelton, now same age. He's all over the court. You've got Jack Draper. I think he's 21 or 22. They're all powerful. They've all got similar games. So what's going to happen is when the older players, so Djokovic, I'd give him another few years. He's going to try and come back to Wimbledon next year, I think. He'll probably do an Andy Murray and just retire when no one's expecting it. So then you've got that Sinner and all that. They're not going anywhere for the minute. But I think it's just an interesting time to be in tennis. But Ben Shelton now, I wouldn't count him out, because the way that he played today, I'm putting him possibly going to the final, because it depends on what happens tonight, whether Sinner wins or not. But Sinner isn't like, if you're letting someone get one set ahead of you, especially for the first time in the tournament, that shows your weakness as well. Djokovic, depends on what day he wakes up, because as what's his name was saying, John McEnroe, he said it seems like he's just got out the wrong side of bed to this today. He said, what's going on with him? No one was expecting it. So that's the thing. Djokovic, if he gets to the final, it will all depend on what day he's having. You can't ever like predict it. So to me, Ben Shelton, if he keeps playing the way that he does, has got a good chance. Sinner, and then you've got Carlos Alcaraz, and you've got Djokovic. They're the four to me that are gonna probably, it's out of them four. So yeah, it's been a different tournament this year. I don't know how to like, there's been moments and things, and there's been like surprises, and I think because all the seeds have left early and some of the people that you were expecting to go further haven't gone as far, I'd say it's made it more interesting in a way, because it's made it more open, but it's also made it less interesting because the people you normally would be rooting for or you would see are not here. So yeah, and don't count Cam Norrie out either, because he's got a chance. I don't know if he's got the same level as some of the ones I've just mentioned, because it's like with Sabalenka and Emma. No matter how well Emma would have played, like as they were saying, she was outclassed, but also it's like a tiger going against a pussycat. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how ferocious that pussycat is, it's not going to beat a tiger. And I think sometimes you just have to acknowledge that, like, there's levels. So Emma, in a few years, I'm going to support her as long as she plays tennis, but I've got a bad feeling that she might retire early, because she doesn't get as much support or credit. It's like if Katie Bolter does, you know, the minimum, everyone will be like cheering and they'll say wonderful things. I've never heard people say anything negative about her. Even if Emma does really well, people are saying, oh, she's riding off the coattails of her winning the US Open. And they'll be like, oh, well, she doesn't do anything anyway. Oh, she's always injured. She's this. But look how far, she's gone up against the #1 player in the world, and she didn't do badly, to be fair. So I just think sometimes we just have to be, like when I go on Instagram, whether it's not just sports stars, but just people in general, especially celebrities, if you're watching them, I think people think because it's social media and they think they can say like anything, but it must be hurtful for her sometimes when she's seen like just lots of really negative comments, because that's the majority of comments I see like about Emma Raducanu are normally negative, so I'll always put like a little positive comment here and there. But I think, yeah, it's been interesting. Let me know, you guys, everyone that's watching, thanks for joining, and let me know what you think. How have you found this tournament? Have you ever been to Wimbledon to watch for yourself? Who do you predict is going to win? So you can watch this back at the finals and you can see if I was right or I was wrong. But you know what, it's just a prediction. I'm not saying that I've got expert knowledge. My knowledge is just from watching tennis and just from what I can see. So let me know, put in the comments who you think's going to win the men's final and the women's final. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.